Typically, children are seen as innocent, and we would never expect children to do anything heinous or commit any enormities that we see in older adults. They are beacons and lights of the world, caretakers of the future. However, sometimes things go wrong. Children do horrible things. They kill. I'm at the bridge, and we'll be counting 5 kids that killed people. In a country that sees a high incidence of both violent and non-violent crimes, this murder brought shock to the country of Brazil. Marcelo Pessigini, described by the Sao Paulo police force as a sweet child, were greatly surprised and confused when they discovered that the 13-year-old boy shot and killed his parents, his grandmother, and his aunt before committing suicide. 3 of his family members that he killed were done so in their sleep, and the body of his mother, Andrea, was found slumped over the side of her bed on her knees with her arms covering her head, killed with a police-issue revolver which they found in Marcelo's hand. What is really odd about this situation is the circumstances surrounding the murder. Marcelo displayed odd behavior after the murders. He drove to his school with his parents' car at 1:25 a.m. and then was seen leaving the school at 6:25 a.m. being taken home by a friend's father, where after arriving home sometime following those events, he killed himself. Some doubt, however, is drawn about the possibility of Marcelo killing his family due to the circumstances surrounding it. But perhaps it's just the fact that people don't want to believe that Marcelo committed the murder of his parents and 2 relatives. After all, it's not surprising that people would not want to think a young teen could do such a thing. Eric Smith was described as a loner who was often bullied for his protruding, low-set ears, thick glasses, red hair, and freckles. He was described by his grandparents as somewhat of a clown who loved to give them hugs and kisses. Aside from the previous statements, Eric was diagnosed with intermittent explosive disorder, which is a mental illness in which those afflicted act out violently and often in an unpredictable manner. So it may not come as a surprise that Eric Smith, on the date of August 2nd, 1993, in Steuben County, New York, he killed a young boy named Derek Vabe as he was riding his bike to summer day camp in a local park, where they were both headed. Eric was 13 at the time, and Derek was at the young age of 4 years old. Smith, which I stated before, saw Derek walk into the park, and then lured him into a wooded area close by. Eric then strangled Derek, dropped a large rock on his head, and then undressed Derek and sodomized him with a stick, which Eric said was done to ensure death. Derek was discovered by his mother to be missing, and after 4 hours of searching for him, they found his body. Eric stated in a 2014 parole meeting that he took his rage out on Derek and was worried that he would then tell on him, so he then killed him. He has been denied for parole 7 times and remains in prison even now. His parents are strongly opposed to his release. A 15-year-old boy in France, whom was described by people who knew him as a little angel, killed his parents and brother, waiting patiently, one by one, in a 2-hour killing spree with his father's shotgun. Let's paint the scene. Pierre, who on the date of October 27th of 2004 was made to stay home and finish an essay while his father was working, and his mother and younger brother, Louis, who was 4 years old, were out shopping, and his 11-year-old sister was attending a dance class. In France, children do not attend school on Wednesdays. Pierre, angry at his mother who would not allow him to go and play football, which is soccer for Americans, had the idea come to his mind to kill his parents. So he loaded his dad's shotgun and sat to watch the movie Shrek and waited for his family to arrive home. At around 3 p.m., his mother and brother arrived home, where he then shot his mother upon her entering the home. He then took his younger brother up to his room, gave him some paper and crayons to keep him distracted. Then, at 4:30 p.m., his sister arrived home, where Pierre then shot her and seriously injured her, leaving her slumped in the hallway. Then Pierre's brother, Louis, hearing the noises and responding with fear and obviously tears, crying loudly, was then shot dead at the top of the steps, whereby he then continued to watch the movie Shrek. Then, at 5 p.m., his father returned home from his job. Pierre shot him point blank with 2 rounds, killing his father, Thierry. After this had occurred, he grabbed a rucksack, left the shotgun, and went out, locking the door and throwing the key into a pond. His sister, not dead from the fatal wound, managed to bravely crawl out of a ground floor bathroom and out of a window, where she then went to a neighbor who then called the police. Pierre was arrested 9 miles away from his home in a public phone box. In court, he was seen as calm and natural, not expressing any regrets for his action. This one is rather unique, as in it covers 2 individuals, and was a very noteworthy incident in the early 1990s in England. Robert Thompson and John Venables, both 10 years of age. The pair are commonly truant from school, and it could be assumed that these two were not the good kind of kids that you'd expect of children their age. On the date of February 12th, 1993, Thompson and Venables were captured on CCTV casually observing children, maybe searching for a target for whatever foul ideas were in their heads. Throughout their day in the shopping center, they shoplifted various items, such as sweets, batteries, a can of blue paint, and a troll doll. I'm kind of wondering how they stole a can of blue paint, but I digress. The same day, James Bulger and his mother Denise were in the shopping center in a butcher shop at around 3:40 p.m. Denise, temporarily distracted, noticed that her 2-year-old son was missing, that he had disappeared. Thompson and Venables, during her time in the butcher shop, took the opportunity. Within the span of 2 minutes, they took James, and then what follows is quite disturbing. On a 2.5-mile walk across Liverpool to the Leeds and Liverpool Canal, where they dropped him on his head, and he had injuries sustained on his face. They were seen by 38 people over the trek, occasionally stopping to kick and hit the boy, where most bystanders did nothing, thinking that the boy was a younger brother. However, 2 people did indeed attempt to intervene, but their excuse ranged from him being a younger brother or when they're escorting him to a police station. Then, they arrived at the village of Walton. Where they were across the Walton Lane police station, they hesitated, leading James up a steep bank to an unused railway station where they began torturing him. During James' torture, Thompson and Venables threw the blue paint they stole earlier into his left eye. They kicked on him, they stomped on him, threw bricks and stoned at him. They put batteries in his mouth, and finally, they took a 22-pound iron bar described as a fish plate. They dropped it on him. James suffered 10 skull fractures alone just from the bar striking his head. He suffered over 42 injuries in total, none of which could be determined to be the fatal blow. And there was another shocking element to the crime, a sexual element. The clothes of James were removed, and his foreskin was forcibly retracted. However, the two deny any sexual motivation for the crime. Before they left the scene, they laid him across the tracks, weighing his head and his body down with rubble, hoping the train would hit him and make it look like an accident. After they left, his body was cut in half by a train, and his body was discovered 2 days later. James Bulger was dead before the train even hit him. The element of the specific crime was so disturbing and upsetting. I cannot fathom why anyone, let alone two 10-year-old boys, would commit such an act. The pair were sentenced and found guilty. They were tried as adults and were released in 2001 under new and changed identities. Shinichiro Azuma, who was referred to as Saito Sakakibara due to letters he sent to the press, and also due to his real name not being mentioned due to Japanese law. In Sato's early life, he began carrying cutting weapons. While he was in elementary school, he wrote in his diary that he can ease his irritation while holding a survival knife or spinning scissors like a pistol. At the age of 12, he exhibited harsh and extreme cruelty to animals, lighting frogs up on the street and running them over with his bike, mutilating cats and decapitating pigeons as well. All hallmarks of the disturbed mindset in individuals as children. Saito was set off on a violent path from the start. His mother increasingly pressured him to do well in school, and she was already made well aware of his mental instability as he was already injuring animals. On March 16th of 1997, he attacked a girl, Ayaka Yamashita. He wrote in his diary of how he carried out an experiment to see how fragile humans are. He struck the girl many times, but he was too excited about what was going on to remember what exactly happened. It was later discovered that the girl had died, and he was greatly thankful that he had gotten away with his misdeed. On May 27th, Saito struck again, killing a person named Jun Hase. Their body was found hours before school was in attendance, with a note found in their mouth written in red pen. "This is the beginning of the game. You police guys can stop me if you can. I desperately want to see people die. It is a thrill for me to commit murder. A bloody judgment is needed for my years of great bitterness." He sent a letter to a newspaper, Kobe Shimbun, in which Sakakibara claimed responsibility for the decapitation of Jun Hase and threatened more killings would follow. The second letter, arriving in a brown envelope, enclosed with a 1,400-worded letter stating that he is aware of the circumstances. Later, a 15-year-old high school student was arrested and confessed to the murders, Ayaka and Jun, as well as assaulting 3 other girls. Saito was placed in a medical reformatory for juvenile offenders. He was released when he was 21 years of age. His whereabouts are unknown to this day. The crimes that children can commit are quite astonishing. It is so amazing in a morbid kind of way, and shows how little of an understanding we have behind the motives of individuals. The tone of this video was a very serious one, as the nature was not one to be taken lightly. But there is much to learn from this, and I think there is a duty of society to watch out for these kinds of incidents occurring. Even though the rates of children committing these acts are very low, it is still something that must be examined. Children, however weak, can still kill, and we cannot predict the behavior of people, even children, as seen in the Eric Smith example. Mental illness is a tricky thing, and it is very much stigmatized. Murder and crimes of violence, when you look at them, appear as if it was coming, but perhaps that this is just a result of overanalyzing these details to highlight certain biases that people hold. We would never expect a child to kill someone, anyone, and that is what makes the nature of all of this so disturbing. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. Go ahead, we can continue the discussion in the comment section below. You can like my Facebook page and follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to see more content. Till next time, I'm at the bridge. Thanks for watching. Cares aplenty.